Gents, I just want to pause the episode for a moment to let you know about the Strong Men of Value Academy. You will have heard me refer to it a number of times, and I want to bring more attention to it. So this isn't just a program, it's a life-changing environment and community of men who are focused on personal and professional growth. We're looking at areas of relationships, wealth, and health, things to help you thrive and maximize your life. Imagine having bi-monthly one-on-one coaching sessions with myself, weekly group coaching calls, and an incredible brotherhood of high achievers by your side. Now we're diving into resilience, leadership, and holistic growth to not just succeed in your career, but to thrive in your health and your relationships. Your journey to greatness, it starts here. So join the movement and you can apply for the Strong Men of Value Academy. You can head to themanthatcanproject.com to find out more. Have you ever thought to yourself, there is so much opportunity out there to the point that you become overwhelmed? Don't worry, I go through that quite often actually. And in today's episode with George Sheppard and Liam Sheppard, George takes us on a whole new depth around this conversation, which was really interesting to be a part of. He talks a lot about consciousness, being aware of our own existence, and the responsibility of taking ownership of our thoughts, feelings, and actions, which is very interesting. The importance of easy to access stuff such as books and podcasts that can be really powerful tools for self-growth. Now, the fact that you're listening to this shows you're probably already aware, more than most anyway, around all this sort of stuff. So strap in. This is going to be an epic episode today. Now, gents, if you're looking to get involved in the Strong Men of Value Academy, the wait list is open. If you just head to this manthatcanproject.com/strong men of value and just join the wait list, you will get notified as soon as the applications become open in the next 3 weeks. Now, you want to be at the top of that list because it is capped. So make sure you definitely go through that process so we can gain an understanding around whether or not our academy will be a good fit for you. So I look forward to connecting with you guys in the future. And remember, thank you for everyone who is leaving reviews. It means a lot, especially remember Spotify now has the ability to leave a review. So jump over there, get that done. Have an incredible week, guys. There are a few insane guests coming up as well. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you never miss an episode. The Man That Can Project podcast, a podcast empowering career-driven men to live more fulfilling lives. We are here to challenge your beliefs, redefine success, and talk about the important stuff in a relatable way. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. My name's Lachlan Stuart. Let's get into it.
Here we are.
We're at it again.
Good times.
Well, it's great to be back. This is our first episode. I feel like I can hear myself. What's going on? That's good. I can hear me. Cool.
Yeah, clear.
So this is the triple threat edition, as George was saying a moment ago. I feel really weird having my own face behind me, even though it's glared out a little bit.
Hey, I like it. I get two Lockies in the one, and if I cross my eyes, it blends together, and I get to. It's just a locktastic event in my brain.
Well, today we got Liam. Liam was on here. I can't even tell you how many episodes.
6 months ago.
Yeah, a while
Something
ago.
like
We went deep. And then George has been on here. He reckons he's a favourite because he's been on multiple times.
Third time lucky. Hopefully this one actually finally
Get some
gets
good
in
ratings.
there. People's psyches.
Get you some momentum.
Yeah, I want this to go viral. This is the one.
It will. It should. So for everyone listening, make it go viral. But we're doing this podcast for two reasons. One, we always have good yarns, and George has chosen today's topic, which I think will blow a lot of people's minds. Liam and I are going to try and integrate it into everyday life. You're going to just do your thing and we're jumping on board for the ride. But also secondly, because you guys are starting a podcast. So I thought the best way to learn how to do a podcast is to take you through the process of doing a podcast.
Yeah, I've learned a lot already. This is great. I like the headsets. That's my favorite part. I feel like we're commentating on the cricket or something like that.
Yeah.
Or a
The
radio
three of us in
station.
a line. It's just, yeah.
13 22 60. Call in now and tell us your troubles.
What is even that number? Pizza hotline or something. But let's talk. So George's topic that he wanted to discuss.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I should probably give
us
bit
some
of context around
yes.
it. But in my early 20s, I kind of struggled a little bit with just the vastness and infinite nature of the universe, and I sort of fell into this very existential like crisis of what's the point of anything? Like if you're just going to die and then it doesn't change anything in the universe, what's the point of going to study, making friends, doing anything at all? It was like a form of depression, I guess.
How did you even end up there, though?
Well, I mean,
because some people are hearing about this for the very first time.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it was just something that my brain sort of conjured up, this story that, if the universe just goes on and on and on and on and on forever, and time just goes on and on and on forever, and you're just here for this one little blip, that doesn't even, show up in the entire time scale of the universe, then what's the point? Like, what are you even doing here? Like, no matter how much influence you have, like, you've got, the most like Albert Einstein, he actually came up with the theory of relativity so we can all understand the universe better. But we're all going to die. So what's the point? You know what I mean? Like, it's this existential dread that at some point the planet's just going to blow up. All of human history is going to be erased, and the universe just goes back to this dark, lonely place. It was a very depressing state of mind to be in. But as I further researched, I came across a philosopher by the name of Alan Watts, he's from the 60s.
The guru.
He is like the closest thing to a god that I've discovered. He's just this. Some people out there would know who Alan Watts is, but he's essentially like this
philosopher
sensei, this British sensei, and he talks like this, and he's very, very wise, and he's got all of these insights into the universe and consciousness and everything. And I watched a video. I came across a video called "A Conversation with Myself" by Alan Watts, and in this video, he is literally like kilometers out into the wilderness, and this camera, it starts on this big gong or this big bell, and somebody like hits the bell really loud, and it goes boom, and it just echoes throughout the valley, and the camera slowly pans across, and then starts to zoom in, and then like literally miles away, Alan Watts is just standing there in the middle of nowhere, and he starts talking. He's got a microphone, and it's picking up what he's saying, but he's heard the gong, and he knows to start chatting, and it says just him talking to himself in the middle of nowhere.
Wow.
And it's him, he's like, it's funny, all of this is just 30 or 40 minutes out of San Francisco, and I've noticed that everything wiggles, everything in nature wiggles. The mountains, the branches, the way that the ants crawl across the ground, everything in nature is chaos and it wiggles around. But humans, we all sit here and, we've got to square things away. We've got to draw the line in the sand. We've got to make everything boxes and squares, and, that nothing in nature is like that. And anyway, he goes on to talk about consciousness and how human consciousness could very well be the most important thing that's ever existed, simply because it, as far as we know, is the one point in the universe where the universe has actually started to comprehend itself. So throughout all of the history of the universe, you've got, planets forming, explosions happening, everything. It's finally calmed down to this point where, we've got a solar system, every planet is moving very stably, the moon's orbiting. It's been the Goldilocks zone, as we call it. The Earth is just the right distance away from the sun. Animals start to evolve, single-celled organisms, and now we've reached this point where these beings have evolved, called human beings, and we are smart enough that we have this consciousness, and we've been able to go, hey, look, there's a universe here that's infinite space. This is incredible. And that's now the universe actually becoming sentient, if that makes sense.
I didn't realize just how well you understood all of that. I felt like you were just giving that video back to me that you sent me yesterday or the day before.
No. I mean, I definitely
spend a lot of time pondering.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy this kind of like big picture thinking and trying to quell those existential dreads.
Do you think though, when he talks about like the wiggling, like everything wiggles, the creatures, the leaves, the grass, it's also about just focus and being present in that specific moment. So when then you go back to that whole what's it all for thing, it's like we may not have an impact in 1,000 years' time if the planet blows up or the universe blows up. But for this very moment in time, we have an impact on each other.
Well, that's right. And I think that's kind of what saved me or dragged me out of this existential crisis, is knowing that this brain that I'm using and this experience that I'm having, this consciousness, could actually be the most important thing that's ever existed. You know, you're the same. You know, it's like the one point in the universe that is actually thinking about itself. And it's part of a much larger philosophy. It's a very broad stroke thing called panpsychism, which is kind of like it's the idea that everything has a mentality, which is a bit confusing to think about. But
give us a little bit more. Give us a bit more, because
I'm going to stay silent on this for a while.
For those who haven't listened to George's last episode, where it was you, myself, George, and Chris Wayne.
I feel like every time I come on your podcast, I just come on and I just drop like a nuclear bomb of philosophy.
Oh, I find it interesting.
Like, what?
But the reason why as soon as you wrote it, I was like, this is fucking weird and interesting, but also I'm curious about it. But I think when I was writing about it yesterday and trying to understand even just what you were talking about then, it's consciousness to its own thing. Is like, I always looked at, you're either conscious or unconscious, meaning you're awake, like we are right now, or you're needing, you're completely out, you're needing something to help you breathe or make decisions for you, etc. But then you think about like a layer 2 or a layer 2, talking to a crypto chat in, like a level 2 to that, where many people are conscious, but they're still unconscious. Like they're not aware of the ripple effect or repercussions of how they're showing up on a daily basis. Like they're just passengers.
Well, they're not aware of the power of their consciousness.
Yeah. And like when you started talking about like how exciting it is with the infinite reality of what's faced in front of us, for me, that's like the abundance of opportunity should we choose to seek it. It's why I learn so much and I spend so much time reading and trying different things, because many people are unhappy. I was unhappy. I still experience moments of unhappiness. But then when you get to think about, at the end of the day, especially for us in Australia, the risk versus reward is incredible. Like if I go bankrupt, for example, or I fail, the worst that's going to happen, the very, very worst, is I'll end up on the dole getting paid $250 a week.
Yeah.
That's not fucking bad. Like compared to other places in the world, like I can live with that. So for me, thinking about the potential opportunity and what I can understand for myself, and even as I think about business and life, and remember me 8 years ago when, I was so hungry for business and success, and I still am, but it's shifted now with how do I integrate it with a balanced lifestyle and various other things, whereas back in the day it was just money. But as I've chased something bigger than myself, which back then was $1 million, but for some people it might be a weight loss journey, or it might be meeting some cool people that are out of your reach.
You looked at him, not me.
Yeah, well, because he's a cool person. Liam's a cool person that I'm referencing in this conversation.
Yeah, he's pretty cool.
Yeah. But regardless of whether we achieve it or not, it's helping us become or pursue a greater potential within ourselves. Because in order to earn $1 million, it's not just like the decision's key, but I know for what I've had to learn is like sales, marketing, communication, networking. I've had to overcome ego. I've even still to this point, like I'm very selective with who I spend time around with, which maybe is good to a degree, but also it has its downfall. So that's like another thing that I'm learning. And so until you reach where you're looking to go, you're going to be constantly slapped with things that are like, hey, this is what you thought was the outcome, or this is what you thought you needed to, or how you needed to think, act, and behave to achieve an outcome.
It's constantly evolving. Yeah.
But this is what you're currently sacrificing to get that. Is that what's really important to you? Whereas I feel some people, if you keep getting slapped around, for example, if you don't want the $1 million badly enough, you're going to quit.
Yeah.
And then you're just going to go back to, for me, if I were to quit striving for better in my life, I would consider myself mediocre, and I would not be fulfilled, and I would not be happy.
Yeah.
Whereas even though I'm not where I want to be, and I don't think there is a where I want to be, I just like the progress and what I know today.
It's like Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
Like his hero is himself in 10 years' time.
Yeah. It's like
he's always chasing that person in 10 years' time. He's never going to be that hero, but he always gets that sort of
and you understand
someone
like
to chase.
there's people, think about this for a second. For those who are sitting at home, and if you can't answer the question, like, what are you here to do? Like, can you gentlemen answer that question?
Yeah, not really. And I think this comes back to the wiggle, of nature, is that there's some people that really need.
Can you get that aircon just quickly? It's a bit. Anyone else toasty in here?
Yeah. My ankles are sweating.
Yeah,
So
it's hot when your
wow.
ankles are sweating. Just behind you there. Yep. It's on.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah,
little cheeky fella.
Little
Okay.
cheeky box aircon.
Little
Anyway,
box
sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to bring it back to that idea that nature wiggles, and that humans have this very weird habit of trying to straighten things out and flatten things out, box things in, make it order, and then nature doesn't work like that. You're constantly working against nature, and fundamentally, life is chaos. It's very chaotic. And you've got to learn to wiggle with it rather than, trying to straighten it out always.
Let's tie it into something probably super relevant at the moment, Joe Rogan. With
he probably listens to this podcast.
Yeah, well, hey, Joe, how you doing? I'll get you on soon when I get the seats updated here in the office. For those who are watching on YouTube, the studio is slowly updating. Obviously, I was saying to the lads here, got this sign, but it just reflects because I've only got one ring light, not two, because George stole my other one.
That's up for debate. I think it's mine.
Well, I do have a receipt for two from Amazon.com.
We digress.
But anyway, so back to Joe Rogan. Hey, Joe, you think about what he's experiencing now. Like he's, for those who follow Joe Rogan or whatever, you go to his Instagram, he's done 2 apologies in the last, week, Liam?
Yeah.
And one for stuff he said 12 plus years ago, which has also been put together in a video completely out of context. Obviously, there was also something that I agree was not good anyway. But then, people are wanting to cancel him because of guests he's choosing to have on. And his apology was like, look, if I'm choosing to have people with these opinions and viewing things with this in this light, I should then also have the flip side. But my thing, and I always talk about this on what we do at the Man of Camp Project, is people need to start taking ownership and responsibility for content they consume, fact checking, doing due diligence on things. So Joe, from how I understand it, like he's just like us here now. He's just got a fucking much bigger audience. Just
a couple of
but he's just curious about understanding what people think. And I think 7 billion people 200, 300 years ago, we were not connected in the way that we are now. Like you had tribes, and each tribe spoke different languages, had different beliefs, different hierarchical systems and everything like that. But now, because everyone can view it, and obviously we've got to take that into consideration, of course, but we're not really seeking to understand why people have those beliefs or anything like that. And understand that you're never going to get 7 billion people to all believe the same thing, think about things the same way. It's not possible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, he's just having conversations, right?
Yeah.
It's not like a seminar or it's not educational. No. It's supposed to be entertainment, really. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's a conversation that you want to listen to because it's fun to listen to him. And he's
very. If you don't like it, turn the fucking thing off, like we do with the news.
It's like the Ricky Gervais thing.
What's that?
You are walking through a town square, and there's a sign on the wall that's got guitar lessons, and the person walks up, finds a little tag at the bottom, pulls it off, and just calls up and just yells at him, I don't want fucking guitar lessons. And you're like, just don't follow him. Yeah. Turn off the podcast. Yeah. Like, it's exactly the same thing.
It's not for you.
Not for you.
Just move on.
Just don't listen to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your... Yeah.
No, I mean, that was pretty well put. I think that, you take it with a grain of salt. Anything that someone says on a podcast, he's self-proclaimed. He's not an expert on anything. He's bringing people in that have differing opinions, and he's just curious. Like you said, he wants to know what's going on.
And you can definitely, like, when your emotions are rising, your intellect definitely goes down. So if you're getting into a conversation that gets you fucking jewels tingling, and the emotions going up, you can definitely say dumb stuff that maybe when you watch back or listen back, like, I was definitely not thinking with 100% brains just then. I was just riding off the energy of Joe Blow who's sitting across from me, because I'm guilty. We're all guilty of that. Like if I had coffee with this dude who's coming on the podcast in a few weeks just before, and everything he was talking about, I was fucking fired up after it. I feel drained from it. It was that exciting, the conversation. And I could have easily gone, I'm going to do that too. And because you're just heightened in emotion, and then you walk away and go, it's not possible. I don't have time to do that. And I got other things that I'm working on. So that's just like an example of how our emotions in conversation, look at relationships. We're all dating George's sisters, actually, aren't we, Liam?
Oh, he's not
married. Yeah.
He's not.
Well, yeah, you're not. I fucking hope not. Sometimes when you have disagreements and someone yells at the other one, and you can often say things that you maybe regret. I don't personally do this. I've just heard on the grapevine that it can happen.
If you hurt my sister,
I'll fucking kill you. And often it's things that you don't mean. But once again, this is where like coming into emotional intelligence, emotional awareness and regulation is so important. And I think tying it back into the consciousness thing, it's like there's so many things about us that many of us don't even explore, because it's like, where do I start? Going back to the question I asked you both before, like, what are you here to do? Or who are you?
And I think, just bringing it back, I think it is human existence is at the moment, as far as we know, the most important thing that's ever happened in the universe. And you are one of those consciousnesses that is actually contributing to this absolute miracle of nature.
So how do you want to contribute then?
Well, I just sing fun songs, really. and this is kind of what panpsychism is about. It's like realizing that consciousness is not separate. Like we always feel like we're on the outside of nature, and like we're looking into this window of like, oh wow, look at that, that's cool. It's what wish I could be a part of that universe. When it is, consciousness is nature. It's we still don't know what it is. Like scientists are just like, whatever consciousness is, like the ability to actually look inwards and realize that we are alive and we are having this experience of life. And there's nothing in your brain. There's no like special, proteins or anything that's happening. There's no like cells that there's no magic cell in your brain that's kind of like the consciousness cell. It's just same stardust. We've all kind of, we're all made of stars. There's nothing.
Yeah. My brain is
I'll stop.
It's like when a fire dies down and then you pour the bucket of water on it. It goes.
I know, yeah. You're trying to bring it back to like practical mannequin mental stuff.
For those who are driving to work this morning, I am. I hope you're still with us.
Last time I was on, we were talking about determinism.
Don't bring that back. And I was trying a little segue. It's like, anyway, I've thought more about it, and this is now what I think.
I got in trouble from Kathleen. She was like, that's not right. You shouldn't be talking about that. People like to know that they can make their own decisions and that they're in control of their lives.
Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with thinking about things, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not something I necessarily like take as gospel, but it's just a really fun idea to think about.
Because once again, it puts you in that position that we're really fucking insignificant, which means maximize what you've got while you're here.
Well, yeah, time is limited. Time is short.
We're going to die soon.
Yeah, well, in terms of the scope of the universe, yeah, it's literally not even a.
But even you think about how fast this year's going.
Yeah, it still feels like 2020.
What do you feel like you're here to do? It is.
That's a interesting question. Be happy mostly. If I can be happy, then that's probably the biggest goal.
But then, what makes you happy?
Lots of different things.
Supposed to say Emma.
Yeah.
Emma's like red-faced right now.
Sitting behind the camera.
Yeah. I know she did come across your, that journal.
Oh, yeah?
She's like, everyone look at this. 3 things I'm most grateful for. Emma.
She did make it up there.
The 12-week game plan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. But I think it is important to be happy. Like is as long as you're happy, you can then contribute to the rest of the world.
But see how easy it is though when people have no idea like, or they feel like they have no idea who they are or what they're here to do, but you just made a decision then.
Yeah.
All it is decisions. Like the quality of our life is based off decisions. Sometimes we make awesome decisions, other times not so good.
Well, consciously, I feel like I want to be happy, but then I'm not that conscious enough to know exactly what's going to make me happy. Like there's that next layer of going, okay,
what does that look like?
Yeah.
But that's it's purely a sequence of asking good questions and seeking, not even seeking answers. It's just being curious about things. And that in itself is, for me, because like I love my life and I'm happy, but I still feel like there's so much more to experience. And I'm not like, even for me, I'm like, fucking no idea what it is. Like I wouldn't change my career. I wouldn't change. I'm married. Like there was all these things that I wouldn't change, but I'm like, there's still something that's in here that I'm not fulfilling.
I think a lot of it is a lot of people's happiness, whether they know it or not, actually comes from contributing and knowing they have contributed to society and to humankind and to have left something behind, like a legacy. So even back to like single-celled organisms, their whole purpose is to pass on information to the next cell, right? And that's like the entire thing, to reproduce, to pass on information. And obviously we're a little bit more complicated than a single-celled organism. Well, some of us are, lucky. But that we still have that same fundamental nature about us of wanting to leave something, to pass on information.
But how interesting is this, right? So I was reading Jim Rohn, How to Live an Extraordinary Life, and he talks about the 3 treasures of life. And the first one being photos, like snapshots, like capture your moments of life because it tells 1,000 words.
Mm-hmm.
The second is books, like your book collection, because you can pass on knowledge and stuff that made you who you are. Like, so your children or whoever it goes to, this is what made Dad what he was. And then finally journals, because it's all your experiences, questions, conversations with yourself in, like, I think I've got 6 of my journals. I've thrown heaps out, but now I'm like, I'm keeping them now because they're as good. He talks about, they're as good as a book because it's everything you've digested, articulated, or you're curious about in a book.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
it's the story of you.
Yeah. And now, like, I still remember, like in 2017 when I started the podcast, Gary Vee's like, how exciting is it now that our children, I don't have children yet, you don't have children yet, you do, but we'll be able to watch our YouTubes or listen to our podcasts and see our growth, see what was really going on in our life at any point in time, because then it helps them identify with things that maybe they're feeling or experiencing and understanding that it's normal.
I mean, yeah.
Imagine having like your parents, like you just go, like you have conversations with your parents, but often memory gets skewed and you forget about things and whatever. But it's like if you're plugging in the headphone, you get to, like, imagine when we're at a barbecue one day and we're all about 70 and we have little rugrats funning around and they're like, let's go listen to what these weirdos were talking about. Like that's, and they're going to hear this for what it was.
40 years earlier.
Dad, what's panpsychism?
Well,
just eat the sausage and bread and go away.
Lockie Jr., let me break it down for you.
Not even your old boy could work that one out, so go play in the mud.
Yeah. I mean, that's something I am really grateful for about the band, I guess. And, all the video clips and the press photo shoots and that type of thing that we've got. We've been able to chronicle, and the girls, Amy and Emma, will have all of these really wonderful images of them sort of growing up, from their 18 or whatever to now. And I mean, you've got Instagram and everybody has this feed, this history of their lives.
Yeah.
For good or for bad.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
And there are babies now with Instagrams, right?
Yeah.
Their mum starts an Instagram for them from an infant.
And like people are against it. And I can understand privacy and all that sort of stuff. But for me, I'm like, it's literally a document that like, it's incredible.
Yeah.
It's like going to the Valley of the Kings and going in there and then you just get to read a scripture. But imagine if you just went play.
Yeah. Here
comes their life. Like, fuck.
I think Instagram is I'm not a huge fan of social media. I'm very vocal about it. And I think Instagram is the best of the bunch for that reason. It's not cluttered up with, like, Facebook is just an absolute mess now. And like, I can't even spend time. I don't even know what I'm looking at half the time. Whereas Instagram is just simple, back to basics. Here's some photos of my life. You can go back and see what I've been up to for the last yeah, 15, 20 years, I just think it's better than all the others.
Yeah. And I guess that sort of ties it into thinking about like every day we're writing a chapter of our legacy or memory and stuff. And what do we want that to look like? We did it with the exercise last week, writing your best self. You wrote a really good one. You can probably share that.
Right this second.
I'll finish the sentence. Everyone's like, but Lockie was about to say something great. Finish it. But you're thinking about what you want, because when you have an idea of where you want to be, like the greatest example I can give from my own experience is 2014 when I started network marketing. The one goal that I wanted to have was to be able to have the flexibility and freedom and financial means to do what I want. And it didn't matter, I went network marketing, I went sales, I went Uber. I did all these different things along the way to get there, but they all taught me various other skills, but I never lost sight of what I was actually like, where I wanted to get to. And there's many people who, we talk about, there's people are aware of midlife crises and stuff. They just wake up one day and they go, I thought climbing the corporate ladder would have me feeling the way I feel. I'm in a terrible relationship. I'm not connected with my family. I'm overweight. I don't sleep well. And they haven't considered any of that in the process because they actually haven't taken ownership for where they want their life to go. And I guess it can be challenging because as we go back to this conscious thing, like the infinite possibilities around how we can live our life is so vast. But I think if you just start making some decisions, you're going to gain some really good feedback around, I think, or I feel like this is the right thing for me at this point. And it could change. Like in 10 years' time, I could be not wanting to do anything that I'm doing right now, but I'm okay with that. It's just making the decisions when they pop up rather than getting overwhelmed by the potential decisions that could come up or obstacles that could come up. But
it's the wiggles.
Yeah, the
life wiggles.
Yeah, the wiggles.
And I think, that comes back to actually being okay with the chaos.
Yeah.
To use another music example, like when you're producing a song, there's a million different kick drum sounds and you're just like, I could do anything here. Like I could go in that direction. I could go in this direction. And then sometimes you can just be like, I don't even know what to do. I can't make a decision. Whereas if you just go, boom, that kick drum sounds all right. That's the one.
Yep.
I'm just making a decision. And then you can progress and actually like start to build it from there. So there's the chaos in you just follow the wiggle, and be okay with it, ride the wave rather than having to structure it out and plan. It's like, all right, this is the kick that I need and that's the snare.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of have to go with the flow a little bit.
Because you're trying to create a perfect that no one else is really even aware of. Because in your head, when you played Geronimo, for example, you guys hear when there's a wrong guitar strum or anything like that. But to everyone else who's clapping and cheering, it's like, I have fucking no idea. You could sing completely different lyrics and I probably wouldn't know.
Yeah. And Geronimo could have come out as any 100 million other songs in that day. But you just make decisions and then kind of go with it from there.
What was it like for you doing? So to give context to everyone listening, the exercise this week was to write about your life as if you'd achieved or everything was like perfect, in quotations, perfect, like as you would want it in where you're currently at in your life.
Write about it where, sorry?
Write about it. So for example, my best life in 10 years time, I would have a healthy family. I would have enough financial means to have choice around when I work. For example, I'd be still fit and healthy that I can, bench more than my Lockie juniors and run faster than do all that sort of stuff, but also have good relationships with people. For example, that's a quick 30-second example, but Liam went through it.
So it was in the 12-week challenge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So everyone was meant to do it. Don't know if everyone did it, but
right.
Yeah.
What was yours?
Mine,
Is this the first time Emma's hearing about it? Or have you?
No, I've told her.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. She was pretty on board with it. It's good. Yeah. So I think that was the most daunting part about telling her than telling anyone else. So I was like, fuck, what if she doesn't want any of that? But
it's a big question to think about that too.
Yeah. So because mine was so different to the norm, I woke up from my house on the hill looking over San Juan del Sur, or
say that again.
San Juan del Sur.
What the?
That's a town in Nicaragua. So it was.
Okay.
I think I said Puerto Escondido in the thing, which is Mexico, but wherever.
All of them sound like they've got good food.
Cool South American house. Yeah.
Yeah. head down, go for a surf or run on the beach, come back, get a breakfast burrito and a coffee, come to head in,
My mouth is instantly salivating.
do a couple of hours of work on Forte, which there you go. First time it's been said.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, do a few hours on that, and then start the charity work of building out houses and wells in disadvantaged South American, Central American communities. But we would have sort of 4 or 5 houses dotted throughout the world, one in Europe, Central America, Australia, Asia, and do 3 months in each roughly. And just have like a semi-nomadic life, but semi-structured nomadic life where you would have bases. You're not living out of a backpack. You have clothes in the wardrobe. You turn up. You don't need to carry everything around all the time.
Okay. And so what happens to the house in the rest of the year? Do you hire it out? Or
I'd rent it out, which would probably cover most of my expenses.
Well,
Had you ever really thought about that? Like, obviously, potentially thought about it, but
to that detail, maybe not all in one thought. I've had
it's a long thought.
Probably like, I would love to have 4 or 5 houses around the world where I would spend a couple of months a year in each one. Where maybe one's in the snow, one's on the beach. You got one here in Brisbane or on the coast or wherever it is, and it might just be a 2-bedroom apartment or a little place somewhere. It doesn't need to be anything flash. I'd way rather be somewhere that I love than being in a house that I have to be in.
So that's cool that you like. It gives you this image of what you now want your life to move towards. And then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, really. Because you are now conscious about the fact that you want that. So you're going to make little mini decisions constantly now, moving towards that, and then it becomes this arc of curveballing towards that lifestyle that you want. And that is the power of your consciousness.
So there's a lot of it, a lot of those sort of like steps and stuff.
Do you feel it's possible or not? Do you have moments of doubt around that, or do you feel it's possible?
I feel it's possible. I feel like I'm more there now than I have been in the past. And with every step, with this 12-week challenge and everything else I'm trying to do with my life, I feel like it's moving in that direction. It's a difficult one with Emma being in a band of family members, and if they don't want to all be doing the same thing around the world all the time, then
it is a challenge. We've got to be always together somewhere. I
thought, well, maybe there's a tour in the US for 6 weeks or whatever it is.
We'll just go surfing.
Instead of flying back to Australia, we fly down to Mexico to our place there. We spend the next month there. Then maybe we come back to Australia because you've got a tour or you're riding or you're doing something like that. Where it's not structured that February till April, we're in Australia or whatever it is. It's very flexible.
Fluid.
And it's just a Airbnb. You get in, block out the month, 2 months you want to be there.
I know it is a struggle for us because you can't actually, and I think this is part of the reason I'm so just freewheeling. I can't really plan 5 years in advance, 10 years in advance. I just don't know what I'm doing tomorrow. Like I've just got to wake up and go, all right, what's today? Check my emails. All right, there's an issue I got to fix. And then you just got to be like ready to just take the bull by the horns and just kind of steer it in a direction on that day. Because like there'll be opportunities that come up out of the blue that you've then just got to wipe your other plans and just be like, all right, well, we've got this Ellen DeGeneres opportunity. Okay, well, let's cancel everything now that we've planned, which kind of pisses you off, I know.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things. It's like we've just got to be ready. It's like being on call as a doctor. You just got to be on call.
Yeah, literally
24/7.
Feels like in like a holding pattern. It's like when you're about to go to the runway in a plane. And when they're like, sorry,
you're
going to just hold here while we have 20 other planes come in, and then 2 hours pass and like, no.
Which is kind of frustrating in this day and age when there's not a whole lot going on in the music industry, but we've still got to stay in the holding pattern. And that gets frustrating.
Yeah.
Because it's like, we're not moving, we're not progressing, we're not doing anything. What are we doing? We can't plan. So
then all of a sudden you might have 20 flights in the next
2 days.
Yeah, you might be all over the world, fly back into Australia for a day and then straight back to LA the next day.
Exactly.
It's interesting though, like it's taught me a lot, and it's something that I'm obviously well aware of at the moment with like personalities and also learning to regulate how you respond in those things. Like I still do to a degree, get fucking quite frustrated, but I also know it is what it is at the same time. So like, even though consciously I'm like, fuck, this is ridiculous, subconsciously I'm also like, oh, dickhead, this has been going on for 8 years. Like, you're well aware of it's
the beat of a different drum.
Yeah.
You've got a very structured, planned out week. Every week, you know exactly. I'm sure I heard you say it before, you've planned out till April. After April, you know what's going on. It's just not the way it works for us, unfortunately. But I have to say, you've been very good about it all.
Thank you.
You asked Amy to marry you regardless, even though you might not see her for like 6 months of the year. Like, we're talking about going to Europe and living in Europe. And if that happens, like, I have to essentially give up my life here with Kathleen and the cat and my friends, both of them.
I'll come with you.
But yeah, it's very much like a uproot everything and off we go again. Live out of a suitcase.
Get a house.
Chaos. Wiggles.
Yeah, the non-stop wiggles.
Yeah.
It is very interesting. But this is how you build. Let's dive into relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how we're diving or where we're diving. No.
Where do you want to dive?
But I think for me, I like, when Amy and I first got together, you guys were touring a heap. And so Kathleen and I would be home in Brisbane so Kathleen's George's fiance would be home for months on, and then we'd come over for 3 or 4 weeks and then come back months on. Like, literally wouldn't see you. Just live on FaceTime, or I think it used to be Fiber back then. But you just video call and as much as, it's like that fondness makes you appreciate, like, you don't take for granted. I think when you live in each other's pockets all the time, it's very easy to take for granted the small things you appreciate about people. It's a good exercise. Did you get it from the compound effect? Did you listen?
Yeah, I've actually got 1 minute and 40 seconds to go of the second run we'll do in 2 weeks.
If you haven't listened to the compound effect, there's a really good task which I started doing 4 days ago. And I bought a special journal for it. So hopefully Amy doesn't listen to this. Actually, I'm not even going to talk about it. I'll tell you guys offline.
Oh
no, fuck it. Amy, if you're listening, if Amy's listening to this,
tune out now.
Tune out now, because it will ruin one of the greatest gifts you'll ever get. So I'm just going to give you a moment to skip ahead 5 minutes. Cool. And here we are. But one of the tasks. So I bought a diary off Amazon, a little leather journal, and every day you got to write down one thing that you love about your partner. And I listened to that and I was like, that's fucking awesome, because I think when you live in each other's pocket, I find myself doing it, and it's not, you find things that you're like, why are you fucking doing that? Or this is irritating me about you. And you can often build up resentment for no apparent reason. So it's just like consciously me trying to be aware of things that I actually love about her, because, we've been together for 8 years or whatever. It's like, yeah, that's normal. But now it's like, so I've already, today's day 4. And in 365 days time, I'll get to give her this book with all the things that I've noticed about her that I love. And also it builds habit as well, right? Like taking that time to actually consciously think about what you love about your partner. And I guess if you're not in a relationship, maybe write down things that you love about yourself from that day, or that you love about your current state of life, rather than just always feeling, pursue better 100%, but like learning to be content with what we have. Like there's that grass is always greener sort of thing, which, as with everything, like you get a new iPhone, car, 2 weeks later, you fucking throwing shit all over the floor in the car, or you're throwing your phone on the bench and you don't care about it being broken. But when you first get it, you're like, oh.
Yeah. Up until that first drop.
Yeah. You just put it down so carefully. Exactly.
Yeah. Once it's been dropped once, you're just like, fuck it.
Be a good Valentine's Day present next year.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking that. I was actually, what day?
Yeah. You've got 4 days.
Yeah. I could probably do 360, 70 something days for her.
So like
Over a year.
they're different things every
every
time.
single day.
Something that you appreciate about what you did the day before.
Yeah, like yesterday was. I always want to stop myself because I reckon Amy's just not going to fast forward this part.
Let's be honest, she doesn't listen to this podcast.
Fuck off. As if the girls are not going to listen to this. The three greatest blokes in their life are on a podcast.
Yeah, you're right.
There's a fucking slim
Yeah,
chance.
they're just sitting there like this. Let's find out what's really going on in their heads. They're going to have a listening party.
Yeah.
Champagne.
Cheese board.
How good are the girls?
Yeah, mate. Our boyfriends or husbands and fiancés are fucked up.
Yeah.
Thanks for putting up with us. Cool.
That's good exercise.
Where to? Yeah, brilliant. And once again, this goes back to the power.
What was it yesterday? What was the thing you loved?
That she sends me a message at 7:30 every morning without fail. Every morning without fail.
Saying
What,
good morning.
like, do the dishes or something? Or?
You forgot this or something. I always forget stuff. No, just like morning babe or morning love or whatever it is. Every day without fail. I just know 7:30, it's coming.
Why 7:30?
Because that's when she gets up.
Okay. So she wakes up and the first thing that she thinks about is you.
Yeah.
That's
How I would take it, unless she's got like some virtual assistant in the Philippines sending me messages. She's just on Instagram.
Or she set up one of those automatic text messages, 7:30 every day.
Got about 7 or 8 of them that just like randomly generate.
I'm like, she's put some thought into that one today.
Yeah, that's nice.
But it's an interesting thing because I do, and it's also challenging for me because I do all my journaling, reading stuff in the morning, but obviously I haven't seen her in the morning. So I now have to like pay attention to, and once again, like I think I'm not actively paying attention a lot of the time because I'm, I was thinking about it at dinner last night when we were at dinner. The girls are on phone uploading Instagram. I'm guilty of it as well, so I don't want to say that as them, but I'm like, we can't even sit through a dinner without feeling the need to show people what we're doing. Yeah. And
I've already told you what I think about that.
Just
social media.
Yeah. But it's, I don't even know where I was going with that now. I'm completely lost. Where was I? Backtrack me.
You were trying to think of things every single day about.
Yeah. So sorry. Now I have to be more intentional because obviously during the day, like I'm running around like a blue ass fly. I got meetings, I got calls, I got texts, I
love that saying, man.
Yeah.
What is a blue ass fly? Sorry, I keep distracting.
Yeah, no, I forgot where I was. No, I'm kidding. So, and because I'm doing that, I'm not necessarily, I'm like, when I actually take time to think about this, because I think about this quite a lot, I'm like, how can I be a better partner? I don't think I'm shit, but I also know that I'm very unattentive in a lot of moments in my life. So it's how do I slow down to put this down? And that's like one area that I'm also working on now. It's why I've got another VA. It's why I've got someone taking over the podcast so I can get time back and know things are being done well. Because I think, as you guys know, and you're definitely about to experience with Forte, systems and processes will change your fucking life. But if you try to do everything yourself, you'll never have time for anything. And obviously, you have to invest the time in other areas or they fall apart. And, there's got to be give and take. You've got to sacrifice at the beginning of launching something great, but then you question, what am I doing this all for? Like I've spoken about this multiple times when I got my business to where it is now. I was like, I'll be surfing more. I'll be fucking doing this. I'll be doing that. I'm not doing anything. I'm working harder than ever. So I don't even know why I talked about that, but it's just important to, I guess, continually check in on why you're doing what you're doing and what purpose it's serving, because it changes as we change as well. What I once wanted, I now have, but it's not giving me what I thought it would give me.
It's an endless search.
Yes.
And I think humans are kind of cursed in the sense that we are, it's like hardwired into us as an evolutionary trait to constantly feel dissatisfied. So you're always looking for room for improvement, where you can improve. There's never going to be a point in your life. I mean, you'll obviously have times when you stop and smell the roses and it's like, this is great. But the majority of your life, you're going to be like, I'm just working towards this. Like I'm not there yet. I got to constantly. Never content. Yeah. And it's like actually built into our evolution so that we can keep on advancing and building ourselves up, advancing the species really. But it's a funny one. I think you should do this personality test that I did the other day.
Oh yeah,
the Enneagram.
Did you send us that the other day?
Yeah, I did. Forrest Black. Shout out to Forrest, by the way. Also,
it was on here 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, Amy and I and Jay.
Did Amy do it yet or no?
I don't know, but he recommended we did this test called the Enneagram Reti test, RHETI.
You sent us that. Yeah.
And it is, it's like, it's a personality test, but it's like the king dick of personality tests. It's like the scientifically formulated, researched, everything. There's like 9 types of personalities.
King dicks. Oh.
King dicks. And I did it. It's like, it takes you 40 minutes or so, 45 minutes, 144 questions. And it gives you 2 answers, asks you a question, and then you get 2 answers to choose from. So it might be like, if you see somebody that's doing the wrong thing, will you directly confront them, or will you sort of dance around it to try and keep the peace? Like that type of thing.
Yeah.
And it slowly builds this personality profile for you, and then it gives you this report. And when it gave me my report, I just read it with my mouth like on the floor. It was just describing me exactly and telling me why I had certain behaviors, why I gravitated towards certain experiences. And it was just like unlocking the key to my mind.
And so now that you have that information, what next? Is it just a level of understanding, or do you feel like you can then implement things to create change?
It's so for me, I'm type 7, the enthusiast. So I'm constantly, I'm looking for the excitement and the fun in life. And I just want every day to be completely different. I want to make sure that, so like one night I'm, going for a drink with a friend, and it's off to the movies, and then like nightcap at 2 a.m. And then it's like the next day I'm off to the theater, or I'm going to a music show or something like that. Every day is completely different. And I got to have that excitement in my life. And if I don't get that, if I'm just sitting at home every day, doing normal things, then I start to feel trapped and imprisoned, and it manifests itself in me becoming not as selective of my experiences. So I might go out with people that I shouldn't go out with, get absolutely tanked when I shouldn't be getting tanked. Like things, I need to find that excitement and that fun, but not realizing that that's actually imprisoning me in a different kind of cell. So now that I'm aware of that, I can actually make better decisions and catch myself before I, gravitate towards those impulses. So that's helped me a lot. And I also think that if you do it with your partner, if you and Amy did it, you and Emma did it, I'm trying to get Kathleen to do it, then it just gives you both the keys to each other's minds and your personalities. And I feel like you'll never have a fight again, because you're like, oh, you're acting that way because of that. Of course you are, because that's who you are, and that's why you're doing it.
Yeah. So
you can actually come at it with a bit more compassion and understanding of each other. And I did it the other day, and I was like, my God, this is unlock the nuclear codes to my brain.
This.
Yeah.
I'm going to go home to Amy and present her how fucked up I am.
But it also
she's already well aware.
It gives you
solutions,
tips, and like growth mechanisms, like things that, because there's obviously like with each type. So I'm the enthusiast. There's 9 levels, with one being like your optimum enthusiast, and it's like taking every day in as like wonder and just loving life every moment. Or you're at level 9, which is like suicidal type, really depressed, not responding to anybody. So, and then it shows you how whatever level you're at, you can climb up that ladder to finally be the best version of that type you can be.
Ties into everything that we can, like the reason why I love having you guys on here and everyone else that we have on, is like people who are pursuing something bigger than themselves, right? Whether it's a career, relationship, understanding of self, like just being a great person, like they're just actively wanting to be that one step better. And even I was literally just thinking as you're saying that, I'm like, I can't believe I've sat through a podcast talking about shit that 5 years ago I would have been like, fuck, this guy has smoked way too many cones, and I've actually enjoyed it. You know what I mean? Like, but
probably true.
But
sorry, girls.
The more you educate yourself, even with like yourself with finances and business and stuff, Liam and George, with your creativity and wonder and exploration, like every year it probably just compounds on what you already knew. But had you have just stayed where you were, had you not moved to Brisbane and had you not gone to boarding school, like maybe we'd have a completely different outlook. And I remember for myself, once I finished school, education stopped. That was it. Like I wasn't actively seeking to understand anything.
Mm.
So I would have been an absolute prick of a bloke to whoever I ended up with as a partner. Like I would have been a disloyal, mistrusting mate. I would have been, you know, I would have had all these.
I was about to say disloyal mistress.
That too. But all of these things that I know there's many people out there, you know, we have fucking thousands in our Facebook group, and I get to, you know, part of the process of joining the group, they have to share what they're looking to improve upon. And you see all these things. I'm like, for them, it's the most significant challenge potentially going on in their life right now. But for me, I'm like, I've overcome that and helped people overcome that a million times. Like you could, and you don't even have to pay for it. I could recommend a podcast to you or a book, or I could link you up with someone. But so many people aren't even aware that information is out there for free.
Yeah. A lot of people feel very lonely and aren't misunderstood.
And it's heartbreaking, because I'm sure you can probably feel, you know, you probably have this point in your life where life's not going exactly how you want it to. You feel like you have this deeper potential. It's like that. I still remember that pit in my gut where I'm like, I'm just not living up to who I thought I could be, but I'm here for something. I just don't know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And for that person who's sitting out there, like the best thing that ever happened to me was I got given a book. It doesn't even matter what the fucking book is, really. Just start reading anything and be curious about what you learn in that book. For example, what book have we got there? The 4-Hour Work Week, right? You might read the 4-Hour Work Week, which talks about obviously 4-Hour Work Week. How do you do that? And you might then talk about online business or marketing or getting VAs.
Sounds like my week.
Yeah. And then you become curious about that and you go, oh, I want to learn more about that specifically. And you wiggle down that hole, and then you go, actually, no, that's not very interesting. I understand enough of it, but that's enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's like me with tax. It's like I understand enough to have it work in my favor, but I don't give a fuck about too much.
Mm-hmm.
So my question off the back of all this is, what are you curious about right now?
What am I curious about?
Yeah.
It's a good question.
Curiosity.
I just really want to build on, see how musicians work as a business. I feel like that's probably something I want to really focus on, and just the business of music and how each artist works on where their biggest income comes from. How you could manipulate that into being 3-4 times more. There's hardly a handful of artists probably in Australia that actually have a full-time wage from it. And me, with my 12-week challenge, I'm trying to get away from the tools 100%.
But you're hanging around me.
Yeah. Yeah. Get the nail bag off for the last time, pretty much, and move more into the business of music. And just learning what makes artists tick in the business sense, which is probably a very different type of thing, because most artsy people aren't very business number minded.
It's like chippies when they go from being the best chippy and starting their business and they run a complete shit show.
They're really good at putting a wall up,
Yeah.
but they're absolutely terrible with books and
What?
quoting.
You're talking
And
about like French fries.
It's like a chippy and you dip it in mayo and not tomato sauce.
He was the best chippy in the bunch.
and then he was gone.
Oh,
But,
God.
yeah.
Pretty much.
So I'd really like to try to focus on helping upcoming artists and even established artists that may be missing out on such huge opportunity just because of lack of knowledge or lack of options out there for them to build on what they want to do.
That's cool. I like it. We'll share more about that later.
Yeah.
And what are you curious about?
Oh, man. I'm
Georgie?
curious about so much. Everything. But I'm obviously working on this app with Liam, so I'm going to double what he's just said. I think it's really important that artists take back control of their place in the music industry and not just leave it to labels to, decide whether or not they're worth it. But I'm also curious. We're in the process of writing the 4th album for Sheppard, so I'm very curious about where that's going to go and what our next sound is, and experimenting and taking the time to just breathe new life into this band. But something a bit more left field. I'm curious about this gravestone in Toowong Cemetery. Right?
What? Aren't we all, hey?
Yeah. So Chris Wayne, who was the guest on the last podcast I was on with you, him and I have been talking about making a horror film. We're both really big horror movie fans, and we love that whole. We want to make a found footage horror film, and we've been trying to figure out what we're going to do, how it's going to happen, and we've come across this rumor, which is kind of based in reality a little bit, that Jack the Ripper, and this is true, by the way, you can look this up. There's a rumor that Jack the Ripper is buried in Toowong Cemetery here in Brisbane.
Where has that rumor stemmed from?
It's
fact, maybe.
Is it fact?
Yeah, well, it's obviously like just, hearsay.
If it was fact, it would be like the Story Bridge. You must climb it. You must go see Jack the Ripper's tombstone.
There's a gravestone in Toowong Cemetery
that says the Ripper.
Here lies Jack the Ripper. No, here lies Bessie and her husband. No name for the husband. Bessie and her husband. And we did a little bit of research into this, and Bessie's husband actually posed as a gynecologist and pretended to be this gynecologist and killed this woman.
Killed Bessie?
No. Oh. Killed a woman. And it was right around the same time, well, a couple of months after Jack the Ripper had disappeared from Whitechapel in London. And he famously, I think it was like maybe 5 to 7 prostitutes that he killed in London, and then he just vanished off the face of the earth. No one ever caught him. No one knows who he is. So it kind of makes sense to us, even just for a horror movie premise.
Yeah,
that he jumped on a ship and just got out of London, and wherever the ship went to the furthest point on planet Earth,
Brisbane,
which is Brisbane, like a fledgling colony, and he lived out the rest of his days here in Brisbane. And
on the old brown snake,
there's this grave. I'll send you.
Can you send me some info?
I'll send you the articles that we've been reading.
Yeah,
but we want to start, this cool found footage horror, and that's what I'm curious about at the moment. Yeah,
it's interesting. I like it.
Yeah, I love this stuff. I love this, mysteries and wondrous other side of the world that people don't usually think about.
I really like it. Well, you've got a dinner to be at, and we can't have you being late.
No, we definitely cannot.
And you're going to a film.
Yeah,
I'm going to go do my personality questionnaire.
Yeah, do it
and find out more about myself. But thank you guys for coming on. It was good fun.
Yeah, that was good.
Hope so. Yeah, I always enjoyed coming on the Man That Can podcast. Thanks for having us.
Share it. Everyone, make it viral.
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it. Viral. This one.
Come on, show your enthusiasm. You said you were the enthusiasm.
That was enthusiasm. Let's do it.
That was about as fucking stale as a chip that's been on the sidewalk for a week.
Come on, guys. Let's get this going. Share this, like it, subscribe it. Man That Can podcast. Let's get this viral. Go.
Thank you for listening to the Man That Can Project podcast. My name is Lachlan Stuart, and I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful. If you did, please take a moment to rate and review the Man That Can Project on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with our newest episodes. We'll see you again next time.